Alright, let's dive into something that's equal parts mind-bending and utterly fascinating, the miniature worlds of Frank Kunert. Now, if you're thinking, miniatures? Really? Trust me, this isn't your grandma's dollhouse. Kunert's work is like architecture on a joyride, where the rules of reality take a back seat and the absurdity of design takes the wheel. So, what's the hook here? Imagine a stadium where one lane of the running track just disappears into a staircase. Or an apartment squeezed under a highway overpass. It's familiar yet completely off-kilter, and that's exactly what makes it genius. What makes this really interesting is how Kunert plays with scale and logic. Personally, I think scale is the unsung hero of creativity. In the real world, buildings have to obey gravity, physics, and practicality. But shrink everything down to 1/12 or 1/43 scale, and suddenly, the rules become suggestions. Kunert's miniatures aren't just tiny replicas, they're thought experiments. A subway platform floating above the clouds? Sure. A hotel where you need a ladder to reach your room? Why not? It's like he's saying, what if the world didn't have to make sense? One thing that immediately stands out is how these scenes feel both ordinary and surreal at the same time. Kunert starts with something recognizable, a house, a street, an office, and then twists it just enough to make you do a double take. It's not just about the visual joke, though. What many people don't realize is that these miniatures are also about the human condition. Those empty rooms? They're haunted by the ghosts of their occupants. A worn wall, an abandoned glass, these details tell stories of compromise, failure, and the weird solutions we come up with to navigate life. Architecture becomes a metaphor for the absurdity of existence, and that's where Kunert's work gets profound. From my perspective, the real magic happens in the tension between realism and absurdity. Kunert's attention to detail is insane, aging surfaces, worn textures, even the way light falls on a miniature building. It's so convincing that your brain accepts it as real, until it doesn't. That moment of realization, wait, this doesn't make sense, is where the humor and the deeper meaning collide. It's like he's inviting you to question your own assumptions about the world. If you take a step back and think about it, that's a pretty bold statement for something so small. A detail I find fascinating is how Kunert's process mirrors the creative journey itself. He doesn't always know where a scene will end up when he starts building. Ideas sit in his sketchbook for months, sometimes years, before they come to life. It's a reminder that creativity isn't linear, it's messy, iterative, and often surprising. The final composition emerges through the act of making, which, in my opinion, is a beautiful metaphor for how we build meaning in our own lives. This raises a deeper question: what happens when we shrink the world down? When we strip away the constraints of reality, what truths emerge? Kunert's miniatures suggest that the absurdity of his scenes isn't so different from the absurdity of our own lives. We build, we compromise, we adapt, even when the systems feel mildly ridiculous. What this really suggests is that maybe the line between the ordinary and the absurd is thinner than we think. So, here's my closing thought: Frank Kunert's miniatures aren't just tiny worlds, they're mirrors. They reflect our hopes, our fears, and our capacity to find humor in the chaos. Personally, I think that's why they resonate so deeply. They're a reminder that even in a world that often doesn't make sense, there's beauty in the weirdness. So, next time you see something that feels off, maybe pause and ask yourself, is it really off, or is it just showing me a different way to look at things? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on Kunert's work and what it makes you question about the world around you.